Okay, time for the HL cell respiration. What we've been waiting for. It's actually not that terrible. I say that all the time. Like someone's really got to make me stop saying that. So I would say there's 4 parts in here. So this first part up here, we're just talking about like different types of reactions, and this whole oxidation and reduction reaction. The next part is glycolysis, but the HL version. So remember, we're taking glucose and eventually turning it into pyruvate and a little bit of ATP. Down here, these 2 parts are connected because we're talking about the mitochondria and its functions. So you need to be able to draw it and then also annotate it, saying what its functions are. And then here, speaking of mitochondria, this is all of our aerobic stuff. So this is what's happening in the mitochondria to produce lots of ATP. So that's how we're going to break it down. So let's get into it. So let's first talk about oxidation and reduction. So quite simply, oxidation is the loss of electrons. So those of you that take chemistry, those of you that take chemistry might follow this thing like oil rig. So oxidation is loss, and the things that are lost are electrons and hydrogen. And actually, this one's going to be the big one that we're looking at. So you're going to find out that aerobic respiration is all about collecting these things. This is like the money to make the machine work. So the other part of the mnemonic for reduction reaction is gain, right? So we have oxidation and we have reduction. And what we're gaining is the same thing. We're gaining electrons and we're gaining hydrogen. And again, this is what we're going to be looking at in those 2 reactions. So let's practice to see if we can do this. So in this reaction right here, sometimes it gets a little confusing because you don't know what's being gained and what's being lost. So there are electron carriers, these molecules that are going to be super important. So one of them is NADH, the other one is FADH2. So we're going to be looking at these. So one of the reactions we're going to be talking about is how we can, reduction is gain, how we can put hydrogens on, right, to our NAD. So NAD has gained an electron, right? Or more importantly, how do we get it back off? So how do we free up this hydrogen so we can borrow it to make the machines work? So that would be an example of oxidation and reduction. And quite often we just write it in this simple form down here instead of all of these pluses and whatever. So here you can say reduction is gain. We don't have a hydrogen. Here we've gained it. Let's do one more. The other important molecule that I was talking about is FAD to FADH2. And the same thing. So let's not go up here where it's all super scary with all these different pluses and electrons and whatever. But we're going to look at these 2 molecules. And again, doesn't have a hydrogen, super sad. Reduction is gain. Here we've gained our hydrogens. And oxidation is the loss of electrons and also hydrogen ions, protons. So we get that. So I am going to actually be referring quite often to these hydrogen ions as protons, because that's what they are. That's all they are. They're just a proton. So you'll see those 2 terms used interchangeably.